again, I just want to say a couple thank yous, that's all. And also to Chris Little, who filled in as well. Thank you, Chris, and they've been here tonight. And Paul Green Jr., who's not here tonight. Okay, with that, Madam Clerk, would you call roll, please?
Commissioner Peters? Here. Greenwood?
Here.
Jones? Here. Little?
Here.
Cerna?
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Okay, with that, in respect for our country, this great country we live in, I'd like Commissioner Little to lead us in pledge.
Place your right hand over your heart, please. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you all very much. At this time, there's an announcement I have to make regarding this meeting is a LAFCO meeting. It's cablecast live on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on Comcast, Consolidated Communications, and AT&T Uverse. The meeting is also webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. Today's meeting will be repeated Saturday, June 10th at 2 p.m. on Channel 14. This meeting is also closed caption. We ask that you please, at this time, turn off all cell phones or noise-making devices. Speaker slips are located at the table in the back and the speaker podium. And on the speaker podium. Please fill them out and hand them to the clerk so we can be recognized. Also, we'd like to remind everybody that we encourage you to for your comments. The Commission is also, however, prohibited from discussing or taking any action on any items that are not appearing on the posted agenda. At this time, is there anybody, Madam Clerk, or any comments?
No, we have no speaker slips. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, then at this time, the consent calendar, I would welcome a motion to approve this consent calendar.
So moved.
Before you finish, I'd like to ask some questions on the final budget. Pull that one out. Okay,
we're going to actually have a comment from Executive Director Lockhart on an item that may be address what you're...
It's in the consent, so that's what I...
Okay, go ahead. You want to...
Okay, you want me to talk about it now? Okay.
Sure, go ahead.
So, I had a question about, since we've reduced one position from LAFCO, where is that reflected here in the budget? And then I also have a question, as long as you're going to look, about the associate planner analyst vacant. Is that new?
So what we've done, and I also wanted to clarify that there, in the spreadsheet attached to the report, there's an accounting error that's corrected in the actual resolution. There's a $5,000 error. I was in reallocating resources. What we've done in accommodating the changes in staffing, the executive officer, Peter, retired. Myself has been appointed at another level. And what I've recommended...
Could you lean into your microphone a little, please?
Sure. What we're recommending is that we hold in abeyance a position of an associate planner. Right now, it's myself and Diane running for the operations, and we have, as needed, Peter as a consultant. So we have a placeholder. We've eliminated the assistant executive officer position and have put in an assistant planner, or excuse me, associate planner / analyst position at the county level. The idea being, in the event we have, as the work plan which is attached indicates, we have a fair amount of pipeline projects that we're anticipating coming in, and we'd like to be able to bring back a workload status report to the commission, and if need be able to go out and do a recruitment as necessary and have the position available.
That, however, was not the recommendation of the committee that did the search to add a position. That was never discussed.
I wasn't privileged to that conversation.
Pardon me?
I was not privileged to that conversation. I didn't have that information.
The thought was that the executive officer and the commission clerk could work together, and if that you'd contract out for additional work if necessary.
Right. We moved the bulk of the money went down to the professional services to allow us to be able to bring on consultants as needed. The idea of the assistant associate planner, associate / analyst planner, is to have a position in place long-term in the event that the workload does pick up, as we're anticipating quite a few large projects coming forward. I
think
apologize.
the position of the committee was that we would wait and see about the workload, not add a position without discussion, and in fact, putting it in consent.
Commissioner Cerna?
Yeah, my recollection is a little bit different. I thought what was determined by the committee was limited to a conversation about the nature of having our executive officer, but eliminating the assistant executive
Right.
position. Which I take this to mean that this is a budget placeholder for a position other than those two, and would be at the discretion of the executive officer to put before his commission to vote up or down. But to me, that's really the purview of the executive officer to give us some reason or some logic behind the need for the position. So what I'm hearing Don say is that it's not needed now, but you're looking to have this position acknowledged now, such that if the workload changes, that you have budget for it.
Correct.
Well, and the intent would be is that the position cannot be filled without coming back to the commission
Right.
for authorization after some justification
Sure.
that it's warranted. Basically, there's a net salary savings of approximately $47,000 just in difference between
The assistant, right?
the changes.
Yeah.
So we put that money in other professional services, but left a funded position for the associate planner, which will be vacant, and obviously it'll accrue salary savings throughout the year. So at the end of the year, if that position isn't filled, some of that money either can go into reserves, or it could be used to obviously reduce the next year's budget, is what we were
Well,
thinking.
I remember it similar to Mr. Cerna, where we were eliminating the assistant executive officer, but we never discussed having an associate planner added to the budget, which I think you should bring to us for discussion in a separate action, I believe. Because the money that pays your budget is coming from all of our organizations.
Correct.
And if you're going to reduce a position by, I'm thinking it was around $200,000 with benefits, give or take 25,000, I mean, that could go back to the the organizations that pay into this, and then you can bring forward an associate planner. I don't know, I just was kind of
We're
surprised to
essentially
see
having that
this.
conversation de facto.
Well,
right?
yes, but it was all, I got to point out, it was in consent, so we were not planning to have that discussion.
So if there's a need for an associate planner, your feeling is that the funding should come from maybe the...
No, I think the need for an associate planner should come before this commission as a separate item.
it sounds like what he's recommending, the only if needed type situation.
Right.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Help me refresh my memory. What I recall is that this was a potential change, but we have not had this discussion as a full commission about staffing levels. We've had initial discussions, and I was anticipating a full discussion of this commission on the staffing levels.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
This is obviously not time sensitive. So what I would suggest is at the next regularly scheduled LAFCO meeting, you agendize it as a discussion item, not on consent, and we have a rich conversation about the merits of whether or not to fund it, and when it would be filled, and what would be the threshold determination and need before we choose to fill it. I think that would probably make us more comfortable.
I think that's very reasonable. I would suggest that we do have a time frame for adopting the final budget by the June 15th.
Well, we can always amend it later.
Correct.
So I'd suggest we drop this from this budget, then you get your final budget, and when you want to discuss it, we can amend the budget.
Okay, we have to adopt it by June 15th, which is,
Next week.
I know. So if we drop it from the agenda, then we're not adopting...
No, just take out the associate planner.
Oh, the associate planner part, okay.
What
wasn't
I'm
clear.
suggesting is that following the adoption of the budget, at our next regularly scheduled LAFCO meeting after that, then agendize it off consent, but as a discussion item, so that we can understand it better and you're maybe better prepared to articulate the rationale for it, and what are the triggers, for instance, that you would want the position funded, Dawn, for what types of projects, what work level threshold you think warrants the need to hire a planner.
So
That would be step 2.
Yeah.
if what I'm hearing you suggest, then is you're suggesting we go ahead and adopt the budget with the position funded, with the understanding that it remains vacant until we have the more robust discussion?
Well,
Or you want to?
to me, it doesn't matter. I mean, there's no material difference because the need for it is, I think, needs to be explained a little bit better than has been explained here tonight. If we don't put it in the budget, we don't fund a vacant position, we could always come back and choose to amend the budget, could we not?
That's correct.
Okay, so why don't we agree to do that and do as I suggested, which is to then have a separate item where we discuss when and how you're going to do that, when and how you're going to make a determination to bring that back for some budget amendment.
So your motion is to adopt the budget with the position unfunded?
Without the
position.
No, without item.
Without the position?
Drop the position,
Okay.
drop the funding, come back and discuss it another time.
I will second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to drop the item of associate planner from.
But to
from the
have our executive officer agendize some express discussion about this in the not too distant future.
Did you get that, Madam Clerk?
I'm just wondering who set the motion? Is it Cerna or Peters? Cerna, thank
Cerna.
you.
Commissioner Cerna. And the second it was Commissioner Hume.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, point of information question. Does this impact the temporary status of Mr. Brundage working?
I don't think so.
No, I wouldn't think so, because that was.
Okay,
yeah.
okay, that's my intent in voting for this motion, is not to impede the workings that we have going on right now. So as long as if that's clear and that's not the intent, then I'm good with the motion.
Yeah, his position is already mentioned in there anyway, so it's covered so separately. Okay. Is everyone comfortable with that? They understand what the motion and the change is? Okay. I have a motion and a second. All in favor? And we're going to do voice votes tonight for technical reasons. So we won't be doing that. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion goes approved unanimously.
Thank you.
The consent to calendar is approved unanimously.
Next item is our business item, Independent Special District Commissioner and Alternate Commission Selection Process.
Right, this item is brought before your commission this evening in light of the upcoming July recess. The special district seat number 7 and the alternate special district seat terms both expire at the end of this calendar year. So we're suggesting we want to let the affected independent special districts, they have their regular schedules in the summertime as well, so we wanted to give everyone a heads up. We're going to issue a call for nominations July 10th. That'll be open for about 45 days. The nominations have to come from the independent districts boards. They have to be an elected representative. That will close on September 15th, a week later. The clerk will go through that, and a week later she'll issue the ballots. That'll be September 22nd. The ballots will be out until just before Thanksgiving. They'll be counted at that time, and a simple majority carries the day. And the anticipation is that we've been able to announce and seat the two selected members at the December 6th meeting. So, happy to answer any questions.
Okay, everybody understands who is running for, whose spot is up for?
Oh, it's this district
Seat number 7 and
Jones
and Paul Green Jr.
Paul Green's the alternate, right?
Right.
Okay. All right. There's no vote required on that. That's just for information only.
Informational.
Okay. Regarding public hearing items, do you want to address those two, Don?
Tonight, we have a public hearing on the Bilby Road, or Bilby Ridge, excuse me, Sphere of Influence Amendment application. It's a landowner-initiated application south of the city of Elk Grove, north of Camera Road. It's within the County General Plan Urban Services boundary. On May 16th, we held a public scoping meeting down in the community at the Wakem Community Center. And this evening, by practice, we're here before your commission to give you an opportunity to develop input. We're targeting it, issuing the NOP, and we wanted to give the commission, get your thoughts on the project. Pat Angel is here from Ascent, the environmental consultant doing the work. He has a brief PowerPoint to go through with y'all, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Okay, it looks like we have someone from the public like to address this.
No, I'm Pat Angel. I'm Pat Angel. I'm the one doing the presentation.
This is our
okay, I'm sorry.
Consultant.
Okay. Would you're here to answer questions too, I gather, then?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great.
Good evening, Chair Greenwood and Commission. Again, Pat Angel. I'm the project manager from Ascent Environmental on the EIR. Tonight is first, this is a highlight of myself as well as the applicants associated with this Sphere of Influence Amendment request. And really the purpose of tonight is it's an informational item. We released a notice of preparation identifying that an EIR, environmental impact report, would be prepared for the consideration of this action. This is a meeting in addition to the previous meeting that Don made mention of to provide input on what the environmental impact report should address on environmental issues, as well as provide some information on the project and the process. So tonight I'm very briefly going to go over the role of LAFCO, the information associated with the Sphere of Influence Amendment request, environmental issues we expect we're going to be addressing, and then provide an opportunity to receive input on the scope of the EIR. Again, there's no action to be taken tonight. This is simply a dialogue and an information point. And just for note, and I will reiterate this at the end of the meeting, the comment period on the notice of preparation ends this Friday, June 9th. So very briefly, as you're aware, LAFCO has the sole authority to consider sphere of influence amendments. While LAFCO doesn't have direct land use authority, it has the ability to approve, amend, condition, or deny a sphere of influence amendment request. Now, a sphere of influence is the future probable boundary of a government agency that provides services expected over the next 20 years. It's adjacent to its existing boundary and basically projects out its future course. The purpose of that is manyfold. One is obviously to plan, in this case for the city of Elk Grove, its probable extent of future land uses, where its urbanization will go, as well as to coordinate with the county as well as the service providers in regards to the provision of services eventually should this land be annexed and be urbanized. So in regards to the sphere of influence and the amendment consideration here, and I should actually back up. Well, I'll mention this when I show the map. But in the case of the city of Elk Grove, its sphere of influence right now as it stands is the same boundary as its existing city limits. It currently doesn't have a sphere of influence. It contains unincorporated land. But this proposal would change that, as well as others that have been brought before the commission. When you are looking at a sphere of influence amendment, the things that are to be considered are the examination of growth impacts in regards to expanding the sphere, the evaluation of the natural resources that have identified in the sphere of influence to be considered, as well as what is the impact of establishing this sphere of influence in this amendment on open space and agricultural lands. So in regards to project location, we're talking about 480 acres. Let's see, does the laser pointer work? Well, it works, but I don't see it. Oh.
You can use the arrow on the mouse.
Oh, yes. Why, thank you. So this red line is the existing city limits line of Elk Grove. Bilby Ridge is this square right here that is surrounded on three sides by the city. It is within the Sacramento County's designated urban services boundary. Its current conditions, agricultural operations, there's some rural land uses there as well, but primarily ag, some cattle. The project is a landowner-initiated request. There's no request for any land uses. There's no immediate annexation request or any subsequent annexation requests, at least that I'm aware of, that have been submitted. No land uses, and there's no current proposed change for services. This is simply establishing a expansion to the sphere of influence. Now, for purposes of preparing the environmental impact report and looking at the establishment of the sphere and the potential annexation of it, the applicant helped generate some land use assumptions that we could use for, well, what could this area look like if it was urbanized? This table is a summary of that information. Primarily what they did is they took a look at the land uses to the north of the area and, in a sense, kind of mimicked the land use mix. So primarily residential with some commercial office uses and supporting park uses, a potential for approximately 1,800 units, possible job generation of 4,300. That's the conceptual land use plan. And just to orient yourself in regards to the city of Elk Grove's boundary again, if I can find there's the arrow. Again, the city limits right now is right here. Urban services boundary comes right along here. This is known as the East Franklin Specific Plan area, this existing developed area. And over here to the east, that's the Southeast Policy area of the city of Elk Grove. So the objectives of the project are to expand the city's current sphere of influence consistent with local growth policies as well as Cortese-Knox-Hertzberg's requirements, establish a logical boundary for future annexation consideration, and establish a boundary that does protect the natural, cultural, and open space resources of the area. The EIR is a program-level EIR, so it's not getting into the specifics of a design of a project because we don't have a specific development request before us. But it does take an evaluation of future urbanization of the land. Upon the time that an annexation application is submitted and worked with through the city, that will trigger another environmental review when a site-specific land plan is known. These are the environmental topics that the EIR is currently expected to address. Again, as part of the scoping process, we're looking to get input to make sure we're addressing the right issues and addressing them to the appropriate level of detail. And then this is an overview of the EIR process. The two dots show where we are, right? Well, actually, all the dots show opportunities for public input. We're currently in the scoping process, and soon we'll be moving to preparation and release of the draft EIR. Here's the information to be provided to provide written comments. Written comments are preferred to make sure that we interpret the information correctly. Again, the comment period ends this Friday, June 9th. And again, the focus of the input we're looking for tonight and then subsequent written comments is the scope of the environmental analysis, impacts, mitigation measures, alternatives that the EIR should consider, as well as there any organizations, public agencies that the EIR should be consulting with to make sure that issues are being addressed appropriately. That's our schedule. As you can see in the highlight, we're here before you, and we expect to have the final EIR completed in the winter and hopefully be back in the winter to consider an action on the Sphere of Influence Amendment. At the time the draft EIR is released and current information that's available on the request is available up on the website. Once the EIR is available, it will be provided to Elk Grove City Hall as well as the library down in Elk Grove. Whoop. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions on the environmental process. Thank you.
Okay, are there any commissioners have any questions or comments? Commissioner Jones.
Thank you. Mr. Angel, the EIR, are you planning to discuss the relationship of this proposed SOI, if it has impact or has worked with the South Sacramento Habitat Conservation Plan?
Yes. I'm sorry, yes, that will be addressed.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, well, again, thank you very much. My apology to you for not greeting you properly.
That's quite all right. I was just trying to be efficient.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for your information tonight. Okay. I believe that leads us down to questions and announcements. Yes.
Aren't you going to open it for public comment?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Yes, public comment. Do you have a card, sir?
I didn't hear.
Okay. No. If you had a card identifying yourself.
Oh. Sure, here we go.
Okay. Thank you very much. Michael Manaski, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
The project proposed by the landowner and the developer demands utility and police services from the city of Elk Grove, fire services from the Cosumnes Community Services District, a significantly large water supply from public water resources and water agencies, as well as drainage. Despite the fact that these are expensive and water is a scarce resource, these services and resources are not discussed in this application. The project significantly increases suburban sprawl, traffic congestion, and vehicle miles traveled by placing RD4 and RD5 parcels far from existing community amenities. It will promote further sprawl south of Camera Road Connector, an area which will likely come before this agency in future SOI applications by landowners. There's a plan to extend light rail south to the Bruceville and Bighorn corridors, but there is no proposed funding mechanism to do so. The Camera Road Connector has funding problems which have not been addressed in this application. The future of the project is in serious jeopardy. About 2 miles away is the failed Lent Ranch Promenade Outlet Mall, which has missed multiple construction deadlines. Just beyond State Route 99 is the 100-acre parcel purchased by the city of Elk Grove for an unfunded professional stadium and soccer sports project, a separate SOI application before you. The landowner and developer have financed Elk Grove City Council campaigns. Incumbents, including developer Patrick Hume, who I don't understand why he's sitting at the chair right now, should have recused himself on this item, have interests in receiving these campaign contributions, as well as indirect and direct investments in local nearby land. Hume's spouse excuse me, why are you
I'm correcting you when you put false statements on the record, Michael. That's what I'm doing.
No. You haven't even
You make
listened.
false statements, I'm going to correct them for the record, yes.
No, you're not. In fact,
Yes, I will.
You should actually leave the room.
No, actually, I shouldn't.
Point of order.
Gentlemen, yeah, let's hold off comments. Complete your comments, and then I'll let you.
Thank you, Chair. Hume's spouse holds land in this area which is directly affected by construction of the proposed Indian Casino, the Camera Connector, and this and other land considered for inclusion in Elk Grove's sphere of influence. I've said this many times before, but it bears repeating because of these iterative applications for suburban sprawl. I want to make sure everybody hears this.
Pardon me?
There's cross conversations going on. I just want to make sure everybody hears this.
He started the clock running. You have a 3-minute limit.
Yeah.
I've said this many times before, but it bears repeating because of these iterative applications for suburban sprawl before you. Resist the institutional urge to approve this request. Deny the application because it serves no purpose but to enrich this developer and landowner. These parcels can remain open space and serve to enhance the southern border of the city as farmland, floodplain, and a space to recharge the aquifer. And by the way, Ms. Peters, I would point out that you did not put a timer on the other speaker. What's most troubling to me and others in the community...
Excuse me. He's a consultant. We asked him to come here and give a presentation. He's not a speaker from the audience.
That's right.
That's why, and since I'm the only speaker here, I don't understand why you're wasting...
Mr. Manowski, I made the announcement at the very beginning of the meeting. You had 3 minutes, and you've already exceeded that already. So if you could please wrap it up, I'd appreciate it.
What's troubling to me and others in the community are these unanswered questions. Who owns these properties for city expansion? Why are they developing it? Who will be developing it? What will it be turned into? Relationships between landowners, developers, and city council campaigns play an enormous part with the political and economic influences that determine these boundaries, land uses, and the complexion of our community. So far, that color is beige rooftops with a pall of light brown sunset haze from the tailpipes of soccer mom SUVs supplied by the Auto Mall. We are living in the zero decade of global warming. By 2030, atmospheric and water temperatures will have risen more than 2 degrees centigrade, triggering an accelerated warming from escaped methane from polar sources. Our seas are dying. The human species is up for extinction.
You have 1 minute, please.
Our demise will be quick within this century from famines, droughts, fires, floods, wars, and immigrant relocations, the likes of which we've never experienced. Harvard science historian Naomi Oreskes chronicles this dystopian future in her book, The Collapse of Western Civilization. It is recommended reading. And again, I'd like to, repeat that Mr. Hume should not have been sitting at the dais.
We understand.
Because I see a
That's not true, Michael.
I see
You
a
can repeat
conflict.
it as often as you like.
I see a
It does not
conflict
make it
of-
true. I have
30
legal opinion
seconds
that I
left.
do not have to recuse myself on items concerning the city of Elk Grove, and I do not have a financial conflict of interest. Do not put false information on the record.
Okay,
And
Ms.
please do not
Manaski.
interrupt me,
Okay, you've concluded. Let Commissioner Hume have his.
Well, but before we do that, though, actually,
Your 3 minutes.
the LAFCO board is responsible,
You have exceeded the
ethically
3 minutes,
responsible
please.
to
Please, sir.
understand that when this information is brought forward, if there is, in fact, a conflict of
We need to
interest,
get
you could
security.
also be ethically liable.
I thought I did.
All of you. All of you.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you. Commissioner Hume, I know you probably like to address that. You may have a minute or two.
Well, I don't need a minute or two. I'll just state for the record, I have legal opinion prior to accepting this position that I do not have to recuse myself on items concerning the city of Elk Grove because I'm acting as a LAFCO commissioner that's within the scope of the duties, and I do not have a financial conflict of interest with respect to this application. Those statements are patently false.
Okay, thank you. Okay, yes, we have somebody else from the public. You have a card, please?
Sorry for that.
That's okay.
My name's Catherine Bardis.
Let me turn your microphone back on.
Oh.
Okay, now you're on.
There's a button to lift up.
And she's
You're started.
Just speak, Catherine.
Okay, sorry.
No.
First timer over here.
Go ahead.
Raise it up here for you.
Okay. I won't be long. So, my name's Catherine Bardis. I am the applicant of the previous SOI application you just heard and saw the presentation on. And I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but I thought it would be right to set the record straight after the false claims that were just made. I personally am only a small fraction of the landowners as a part of this application. All the landowners, to my knowledge, have not made substantial financial contributions to Councilmember Hume's re-election efforts, and all the applicants are very much supportive of our application, and we look forward to working with LAFCO and hopefully putting forth a very good project both for the environment and for the community. I believe a number of the projects that Mr. Manowski referenced as undeveloped were commercial projects, and we're hoping to mirror the surrounding areas and put forth a good project for everyone. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bardis. Okay. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? Okay. Seeing none, we'll close the public comments. Okay, now we'll open back up, like I mentioned earlier, for questions and announcements from staff or anybody else? None? Seeing none? Okay. That concludes our meeting then for the night. I thank you all very much for coming and for your comments, and have a great evening.